So talking about questionnaire design a little bit more in detail, so the quantitative data collection. So as I mentioned, it requires a quite robust procedure in how you design that. And this is where the research up front is actually very important, because only if you have done in-depth market research, or if you really understand the data that you look at in terms of a consultancy project, or you have looked through the literature extensively, you then will be able to formulate hypotheses that are robust and that can be tested. Now, the importance with these hypotheses is that they have variables that you are interested in. So the dependence on X and Y, for instance, and then also you might have a number of different variables, and you want to have a look in how they interrelate or how they depend on one another. Is one of them a mediator? Is one of them a moderator, for instance? So grafting those questionnaires requires therefore a lot of precision in terms of how you formulate a hypothesis, then the variables that you are testing, and then the questions that you're asking in order to test that. So for instance, for one hypothesis, you might have two different variables, but you might ask three questions to ask very differently about those variables to get enough data. Also, in terms of sample size, you will then have to have between 150 and 200 to have a good amount of sample. And you can use a number of different ways of how you collect your respondents. So let's say one would be a so-called simple random sampling. So you put it out there and anyone gets it. You have no particular interest in age group. Anyone who is available will take part in it. However, you want to think about also who is it for. So especially if you do a business plan, you will have a market that you have identified, and you will try to probably find that, or you will use it as a tool to identify your market. So depending on what you want to do. Similarly, if you want to do a consultancy project and you want to ask the employees about certain aspects because you want to improve the certain processes within a company, you will then have to think about who are they. So on top of the questions that you're asking for the questionnaire in order to test your variables, you will then also collect some demographic data. So that's gender, age, maybe your profession and things like that. So I guess it's very bespoke, therefore, in terms of how you design it, and it doesn't fit all that size. And so you need to make your own decision of which of the two are more appropriate for you, and if you really want to go down the questionnaire route. On top of that, you will then have to use either Excel or SPSS, which is the software that allows you to analyze it, and both of them work with variables. So formulating the hypothesis and identifying those variables is absolutely key for you in order to test what you're interested in and get good results that you can actually use.